You are a young mother in Constantinople in the year 1453. For 1,000 years, this city has stood unbroken, but now, under the thunder of Ottoman cannons, the walls begin to fall. Smoke fills the air, screams echo through the streets. 3 days ago, your husband died defending the walls. Now soldiers pound on your door. You hold your daughter tightly. Soon you will understand that his death was mercy. For 6 centuries, the Ottoman Empire expanded across 3 continents. From the plains of Hungary to the deserts of Yemen, their banners rose. History remembers their sultans and their mosques, but behind the glory was a darker truth, a system built on order and fear, a machine that turned human suffering into policy. When an enemy city fell, chaos did not come first. It began with administration. Every victory followed procedure. When Constantinople fell, it was no different. Mehmed II gave orders to harvest the city. Survivors called it horror. The Ottomans called it order. Boys older than 12 were executed. Those who resisted were killed. Even small children were not spared. They believed rebellion could grow young, but death was a mercy given only to men. For women and girls, a colder fate awaited. In burning streets, women were lined up and sorted. Their age decided their value. Those between 14 and 25 were taken first. They were numbered and priced like goods. Women aged 25 to 40 were marked for labor. Those older than 40 were executed. Children were divided too. Boys under 6 were taken for conversion and training. Girls were sent to imperial households. Mothers were forced to watch as their children vanished. Infants were sometimes killed before their eyes. Within 48 hours, more than 50,000 people were processed. 12,000 women and girls were shipped to slave markets. 8,000 were given to soldiers as spoils. In Ottoman records, there were no names, only numbers. 15 females aged 16 to 20, condition healthy, no identity, no mercy, only data. The screams fade, the ink dries, the 1,000-year city falls silent. The fall of Constantinople was not chaos. It was procedure. It was a harvest planned in advance. Every survivor was treated as property of the empire. In the center of the ruined city, soldiers formed lines. The air smelled of blood, ash, and smoke. Families were torn apart under the sound of commands. Every life was counted. Every body was inspected. Women were the first to be sorted. They were divided by age, beauty, and strength. Those between 14 and 25 were taken aside. They were considered the most valuable. Their names were erased. Their numbers were written on wax tablets. They were now items, not people. Women between 25 and 40 were marked for labor. They were strong enough to work but not desired by officers. Their future would be endless toil and silence. Those older than 40 were executed. They were judged unprofitable to feed. Children were separated next. Screams echoed as mothers begged for mercy. Boys under 6 were seized for the devshirme. They would be raised as soldiers of the empire. Girls were selected for royal households. They were trained to serve without question. Infants were often killed on the spot. It was not done from cruelty, but from calculation. The Ottomans feared rebellion from bloodlines left alive. Mothers were forced to watch everything. Some tried to fight, some fainted from grief. But most stood frozen, their eyes empty. Their lives ended not by death, but by despair. Within 2 days, the entire city was processed. Over 50,000 people were divided like goods. Women were recorded as numbers. Children were counted as future soldiers. Men were corpses left in the streets. The system was cold but precise. Every soul had its category. Every body had its price. The conquest was complete. The walls had fallen. Now the people were falling too. The conquest of Constantinople did not end with blood. It continued with trade. The city's survivors became the empire's new currency. The Ottoman slave system was vast and organized. From the shores of the Bosporus to the ports of Anatolia, ships waited. Women, children, and captives were loaded like cargo, the smell of smoke mixed with salt and fear. Inside the ships there was no light, no air, no space. People were packed together shoulder to shoulder. Some cried, some prayed. Others had no strength left to speak. The voyage was not long, but it was deadly. Many died from thirst or sickness before reaching port. Their bodies were thrown into the sea. The records listed them as losses like broken goods. The empire measured everything. Every person had a number. Every number had a price. Young women were worth more than gold. Children were listed as potential value. Old or weak captives were marked as expendable. In markets across Bursa and Anatolia, auctions began. The cries of merchants mixed with the silence of the enslaved. Women stood trembling as buyers inspected their bodies. They were touched, examined, and priced again. Some were sold to soldiers, others were sent to nobles or court officials. Each sale was recorded in perfect handwriting. The empire turned suffering into paperwork. Those who survived the ships now faced a different death, a death of identity, a death of memory. Their names were gone, their homes were ash. They belonged to no one and to everyone. The slave system was not chaos. It was a machine, a cold, perfect machine built to turn human life into wealth. And for the Ottoman Empire, that machine never stopped. In the Ottoman Empire, conquest was not only about land, it was also about people. The law gave soldiers power not just to kill, but to claim. According to imperial decree, a soldier who killed an enemy in battle could claim his widow. If he made the claim within 72 hours, and before 3 witnesses, she became his property. It was a law written in ink but enforced in blood. The women were brought before soldiers in public squares. Each soldier stepped forward to declare ownership. The women stood silent, holding the ghosts of their dead husbands. Their names were changed. Their religion was erased. Their pasts were destroyed. Conversion was mandatory. Before crowds, they were forced to spit on their holy books. Crosses were broken. Prayers were silenced. Those who refused were tortured, not killed. Dead slaves had no value. The law did not recognize love or grief. It recognized only ownership. A woman's life became a legal entry, a name on parchment. To make the conversion complete, women were given new Turkish names. They were told their families were gone, their villages burned, their old gods abandoned them. Many broke. Some resisted, some pretended to accept to survive another day, but every choice ended the same. Their will was gone. The empire demanded obedience, not belief. It wanted silence, not faith. Through law, conquest became permanent. Every act was recorded. Every woman had a new name. Every soul was filed away. It was no longer war. It was assimilation, a quiet erasure written in perfect order. The law gave soldiers ownership, but the empire wanted more than bodies. It wanted obedience. It wanted transformation. Across the conquered lands, special facilities were built. They were called houses of conversion. From the outside, they looked like prisons. Inside, they were factories for breaking the human spirit. Women captured from fallen cities were brought here. Their hair was cut short. Their clothes were burned. Their old names were forbidden. Each one received a new name, a number, and a purpose. At first, they cried for their families. They begged to see their children. The guards remained silent. Hope was the first thing taken from them. Day by day, they were forced to repeat prayers in a new language. Mistakes were punished. Tears were ignored. Faith was replaced with fear. Those who resisted were isolated in dark cells. Some starved. Some were beaten until they forgot their own words. The goal was not death. The goal was erasure. Pregnancy was part of the system. Women were paired with chosen men to ensure new generations. Children born in these centers were taken away at birth. If the child resembled the mother, it was often killed. The empire wanted loyal children, not reminders of pain. Doctors worked in these places. They measured, recorded, and preserved life for production. Mothers were not treated as people. They were tools to create citizens. Archaeologists later found the ruins of these centers. They discovered chains fixed to the walls, drainage channels for washing floors, and small rooms for childbirth. It was not chaos, it was design, a system built to turn love into obedience, faith into silence, and women into instruments of empire. The Ottoman conquest spread across continents, but their power was not held by swords alone, it was held by fear. Stories of what happened in Constantinople traveled fast. Villages heard whispers of harvests, of women taken, of children lost. Before armies arrived, terror already walked ahead of them. Some villages chose to burn their own homes. Others fled into mountains and forests. Mothers hid their daughters in caves. Fathers scarred their children's faces to make them undesirable. Love became desperate. Survival meant sacrifice. When soldiers came, they found empty streets. But the empire always found someone. Hiding was never enough. The Ottomans tortured prisoners until they revealed where others hid. Entire communities vanished. Fields turned to ash. Rivers ran black with smoke. In some regions, people built secret shelters underground. They dug tunnels where families could live for weeks. But air ran thin. Children cried in silence. Many suffocated in the dark before soldiers even arrived. Generations grew under the shadow of terror. Families taught their children not to sing, not to laugh, not to be seen. Beauty became a curse. A smile could bring danger. Over time, cultures changed. Veiling became common. Marriage came early. Women stayed inside. These customs did not come from faith. They came from fear. Fear shaped language. Fear shaped belief. Fear became law. The people learned that silence was safer than hope. And in that silence, the empire ruled without resistance. No chains were needed, only memory. Empires are remembered for their monuments, for their palaces, their armies, their conquests. But the Ottoman Empire left something colder behind: paper, ink, records. In archives across the empire, ledgers were kept, not of trade or taxes, but of people. Every captive was written down, every woman, every child, every number. One book listed births inside the conversion houses. Another recorded deaths from exhaustion. Every loss was calculated. Every life was measured in value. Doctors wrote reports about women's health. They noted fertility rates. They marked pregnancy cycles. They tracked how many children survived. To the empire, this was not cruelty. It was administration. It was efficiency. Human suffering became data, and data became policy. Inspectors visited the camps to ensure order. They checked productivity. They confirmed that the resources were not wasted. Women were fed just enough to live. Children were trained just enough to obey. Those who could no longer work were listed as expired. Their bodies were removed. Their numbers were replaced with new ones. The ledgers were precise. Ink lines ran straight and clean. There were no emotions between the lines, only structure. The empire did not shout. It did not rage. It recorded. It stamped. It signed. Through paper and ink, despair became permanent. Every name lost. Every voice silenced. Every soul turned into a statistic. The empire had learned a dark truth: that power needs no sword, only order. Centuries passed. Empires rose and fell. But the echoes of those cries never faded. The walls of Constantinople crumbled into ruins. The markets turned to dust. The ledgers yellowed with age, yet their ink still spoke. The women who lived through the conquest never returned home. Their stories were buried with them, their names forgotten, their children raised under new gods. But memory survives in silence, in the way mothers shield their daughters, in the way families whisper about danger, in the way beauty hides behind a veil. Generations forgot the details but remembered the fear. They built their lives around caution. They prayed softly. They loved quietly. They obeyed without trust. Fear became tradition. Tradition became belief. Belief became truth. In distant lands, ruins still hold traces of chains. Archaeologists find rooms where women once wept. Scribes find records that list names now unreadable. Every mark of ink is a heartbeat turned to dust. The Ottoman Empire is gone. Its cities have changed, its flags replaced. But history breathes in the silence it left behind. Because silence is the longest echo of pain, it passes through generations. It shapes nations without words. No monument remembers the nameless. No stone bears their grief. But the earth remembers. And sometimes, when the wind moves through the ruins, you can almost hear their voices again, whispering, crying, praying for a dawn that never came.